We'll call to order the Finance Committee meeting for Thursday, May 12th. Everyone stand for the prayer and the pledge, please. Dear Lord, as we gather tonight in this time of graduation, this start of the summer, we just ask a special blessing on all of the children in this parish, Lord, as they begin this summer and the many recreational opportunities that they have and their time off. May they enjoy them, but may you also keep them safe, for they are what brings us the most joy and are what is most precious to us. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. We are missing Councilman Shake Snyder, Councilman Johnson, who are working, and Councilman Adrian Thompson and Oliver Joseph, who are at a conference. And Councilman Kluwat, I'm sorry, is not here as well. Public comment period. A reminder, if you wish to speak, please come in and sign up with the secretary. You'll have 3 minutes. And our next item, we have a capital area legal services presentation. Ma'am, if you would please come introduce yourself and begin.
Bring you greetings from our board and our staff, and certainly want to thank the council for all the support that you've given us over the years. Capital Area has been in existence for 54 years now. There's been a presence in this area for at least half of that time, and that's largely due to the assistance that you give us on a regular basis. A packet was left at your areas, giving you a breakdown of our representation parish-wide over from January 1st last year to date. It's very cursory. We've worked with Mr. Martinez over the years, so he knows any other information the council may need. We're happy to provide. Any questions you may have, we'll try to answer. The only thing I want to add in those numbers, because there are 2 offices, one in Donaldsonville and one in Gonzales, I want the council to know that at least 3/4 of that representation comes through the Gonzales office.
Okay.
Any
So
questions?
you're here tonight to ask for the
For the yes.
funding. Okay.
No, I believe it's at the
The 13,600.
the level that we had previously been funded, except that you were most gracious to give us some additional money maybe a couple of years ago when we were in crisis, and we're grateful.
Okay. Councilman Bell?
Ma'am, is the parish the only funding? How about the town of Gonzales or town of Donaldsonville or?
No, besides the federal grants that we get, the parish is the only funding. There have been some proposals to get funding through the clerk of court, but we've not seen that come to fruition at this time.
I guess I need to ask, and I'm just asking, I'm not,
Yes, sir.
there was a lot of legal problems last year
Yes, sir.
that y'all went through, and can you give me a little update on that, where it stands? And
We still got them, sir. We were up for funding through the federal program. We'll know the results of that next month. Everything has been positive to this point. They put us on a month-to-month funding, and there were things that we had to do each month by a certain date. So far, we've complied with all of that, and we're hopeful that we'll be refunded in June.
yes, ma'am. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Lambert?
due to the, look like you had some organization changes also.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd like to see this go to our executive committee to look at it. I don't want to cut it, but since we have some new faces, let's take a look at it at the executive committee, and then bring us back a recommendation, please.
Okay. I have a motion by Councilman Lambert to move this to executive committee.
I'll second that.
Second by Councilman Valentine. And
Discussion.
Discussion, yes.
Parish President, is this funding for next year? Is that, are we talking about
This
now?
is funding
About
that
this
was
year?
approved in this year's budget.
And we cut it as it was,
We cut it
right?
20%.
Okay.
And basically, they've gone through some major problems and hurdles here of recent. I don't know where they are with the legal problems and what transpired, and if they have their organization back intact to a certain degree. You have an acting,
Yes, sir.
someone acting now, not a regular appointed person.
Yes, sir.
And if in fact, that if you don't receive this federal funding, what happens at that point? If
There's, let me rephrase, there's no danger of not receiving the funding. We just may be under one of the other agencies' direction and not independent as we had been.
okay, I don't understand. Other agencies,
We have, well, there's several, there's NOLAC, New Orleans Legal Services, there's Southeast Legal Services, there's Acadiana, and these are all service agencies as we are. So if they choose not to let us act independently, then the next thing is to merge us with one of those organizations.
so when do you think this would take place? When we all know if y'all gonna get recertified
June.
or?
We'll know in
June.
June, yes, sir.
Okay, well, I think that until that point, I think that's a good idea to look at it, and maybe when y'all get your results back. I don't want to ask the council to fund something that in next month it changes over, and another agency, and then we're going to end up with a mess. We've been paying some bills. I think, Ms. LeBlanc, is that correct?
Just the contract we have with Xerox.
The Xerox machine, we've continually paid that this year. But, I mean, until we find out where y'all going to be, we need to be careful at how we approach this.
Yes,
And I think y'all would understand that, I hope.
yes, sir.
Okay.
Along those lines, thank you, Parish President. I think we'll just, I'll still go along with the motion. I would like, though, the executive committee discuss it. If they come to a resolution, then they'd come back to the finance committee for a discussion with the full council. I certainly wouldn't want to do anything without the full council's approval. But as somebody mentioned, that as you look through the clients and what have you, there's a large percentage of clients from Donaldsonville and Gonzales, and I know that you probably don't get from cities. It looks like you just get parish government that supports you, but it would be good if those governmental agencies have an opportunity.
Yeah. Okay, Councilman Schexnayder?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's same thing I had in mind, and I would like the executive committee to think about a possibility of X amount of money, and then we would be willing to match whatever city entity would be willing to put up. That way, it would encourage you guys to go ahead and try to get some funding from them, and that would double your money as you go.
Yes, sir.
And then we could have a limit on what we would end up paying, but that would enable us to start with a lower base, and if the cities would wish to participate, it would come up to what we would be normally funding, and yet they would get more money in the parish. And I think we'd be more efficient like that. So.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to move this to executive committee and consider all the options that have been discussed so far. Any objection? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move into our finance report section. Item number 5, our sales and use tax report for the month. Ms. Quinn?
Good evening, members of the Finance Committee. You have before you your regular sales tax report. You can see from the front page that the April to April comparisons from last year and year to date, in all 3 of our sales tax districts, they're down a little bit. If you go to the extreme right hand, it's a budget comparison, and you can see at 33.33% of the year, 4 months, we're above the budget in each of our sales tax districts. We're above it in East Ascension drainage by 5.2%, and the 2 rural sales tax districts approximately 6%. And then if the second page, you can clearly see what we've been talking about, that the right-hand chart, the blue bar represents the petrochemical industry, and as we've been stating, that those collections in 2010, the audits were extremely high, above normal. And on the very next page, we showed you a chart that we did last year of our 3 sales tax districts that excludes audits on the right-hand side again, both in 2010 and 2011, and you can see they're still down in all 3 districts. And in talking to our sales tax authority administrator, one of the factors, or a big factor, was in 2010, but without the audits, a silver catalyst was purchased in the petrochemical industries, and that's a very expensive precious metal that they use. And they, from time to time, they do purchase them from different chemical plants. And then the rest of the charts are the pie charts, which is a depiction of where the sales taxes are collected, and a history chart, which you're familiar with. And then the last page shows you again those 2 extremely high above average years of audit collections in 2009 and 2010. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Okay, questions on this month's report? No?
Chairman.
Councilman Shakespeare?
Well, I just want to reiterate, appreciate administration coming out and budgeting, even though we're down in revenue anywhere from 8.5%, 4.5% to 8.5%. We've budgeted for that, and we're above our budget. So I mean, it was good planning. That if you just look at it, it would look like we're in very good shape, but we're way low on budgeting from what we received last year, and so I think that's something I want to commend you for. So appreciate it, and people need to be reminded of that.
Yeah, we took in consideration the audit collections, you know, how there was a big spike in audit collections. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Councilman Miller? Oh, sorry. Parish President, you had something?
Well, just what Kent was saying, basically, I think from 2008 to when this group took office until now, sales tax collections down about $1.5 million, but every fund balance is in the positive, actually have grown. Not one department came in over budget last year. Everybody came in under budget. So financially, we in the best shape we've been in, I would say. And also the other thing is that your bond rating went up. So, you know, in spite of the bad times, just through the conservative budgeting of y'all, by approving these budgets, you know, that's kind of where we at. You know, it's positive, and we're going to continually, hopefully, continue this trend until the sales tax settle down. And I mean, there's going to be years when you have these high audits, and if you look, every year had some sort of audit money in it, but you can't depend on audits. So, you know, we'll continually budget it like the lowest year of the audits rather than the highest year. So it'll be conservative.
Okay. Anyone else? All right. Thank you, Gwen. Next, we'll move on to the revenue and expenditure report. Amanda?
Good evening. I'll be reporting on the financials for the month of March 2011, which is 25% of the year. On page 1, total revenues are at 18.34%. On page 4, there's an explanation for the funds that are highlighted in green that are under the budget by 5%. And the major reasons for most of these funds are due to sales taxes that are recorded 1 month behind, and our quarterly revenues that are not reflected at this time. On page 2 is the expenditures, and we are at 18.51%. There's an explanation on page 5 of the ones that are highlighted in green that are over the budget by 5%. And the major reason for those being over budget are due to encumbrances that are allocated for the year and annual appropriations that have been processed already for the year. On page 3 are the charts that compare the year-to-date revenue and expenditures for operating and capital to the budget. And then the last page of the report is a listing of all checks issued in the month of March that were over 100,000, and the total of those checks are 4,633,896.55. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer at this time.
Any questions, comments? Okay. Move on then to the next item, item number 7, the 2011 millage for Ascension Parish government. Gwen?
Okay, you have before you a booklet entitled the 2011 Millage Review. In this process, the council, as the governing authority of the parish, has two main functions to fulfill. You have to adopt the millages that were assessed by you and your districts, and then you sit as a board of review to adopt the total Ascension Parish millage, which includes all the taxing districts in our parish. This process begins in May, and it ends with the acceptance of the tax roll by the Louisiana Tax Commission in November of each year. This is not a reassessment year, although the council is required to adopt your millage each and every year on annually, of course, and of course by ordinance. So if you would turn to page 1, these are the procedures that you go through to assess your levy, your millages. And at the top, we give the legal authority, and it includes the Constitution, the ad valorem tax laws, and the open meetings law that we have to follow. And of course, you have to adopt it by ordinance in accordance with our home rule charter. And so you go through the introduction, it has to be at a public meeting, it has to be in writing, and then you call the public hearing. And then there's notice requirements that we have to abide by. And of course, then the council would conduct the public hearing at a public meeting, and then you go through the adoption process. It has to be adopted by a majority of the members of the council. It has to be published within 10 days after the adoption in the official journal. And the effective date is prescribed as prescribed in the ordinance, but not earlier than 5 days after publication in the official journal. Something new is this affidavit that's required by the Secretary of the Council. Beginning in the year 2000, it was mandated by the legislative auditor. It has to be submitted to the assessor and the legislative auditor, along with the ordinance that you adopt levying your millages. This is not a reassessment year, as I stated, so we'll go ahead and turn to page 2. After we go through this ordinance process and the assessor receives all the ordinances of all the taxing districts in the parish, she calls a public hearing. This is when, in about early October, as you recall, the parish council, as the governing authority of the parish, sits as a board of review and certifies the tax roll for the entire parish as prepared and presented to you by the assessor. And then thereafter, there's one more step we go through, is called a quietus, and the parish receives the annual audit reports from the sheriff's auditor as the tax collector of the parish. Once received, the treasurer of the parish government will issue a quietus to the assessor on behalf of all the taxing districts, which states that the sheriff, as tax collector, has exhibited satisfactory evidence that all taxes due as shown on the ad valorem tax rolls for Ascension Parish for the current year have been paid or accounted for. And then the fifth, section 5, is your taxing millages, and it shows you the expiration date. Our parish tax, which is 2.86 mills, which reduces to half in the city of Gonzales and Donsonville, is a constitutional tax, so there is no expiration date. And then the rest of our taxing districts, you can see the very first one is our health unit. It expires this year, but you have already called that election for the fall. And then the rest is the mental health, two for the library, our lighting districts, East and West Ascension, drainage districts, the Parish Council on Aging, and the Fire District number 3, and Utilities District. What's new in this list is the second to last one, Fire District number 3. They were successful in convincing the electorate to approve another 10 mil tax, and that is effective this year. And then there's a few facts about what is an ad valorem tax, how much a mill equals, parish-wide, rural only, and how they're subject to homestead exemption, and how they're classified in the 3 categories, which has different percentages of how they're taxed for ad valorem tax purposes. And then on page 4 is the ordinance that we would ask you to consider introducing at your meeting of May 19th, and then call the public hearing and adopt the 2011 millage ordinance at your June 2nd regular council meeting. So that's attachment 4. And nothing has changed on this list from the previous year, except Fire District number 3. As you know, you can see they have 2 millages there. All of our millages are 10 years, except constitutional millage, as I said, before for the general fund. The 4.6 mil for West Ascension Consolidated Gravity Drainage District one of them is a 5-year tax, and the Utilities District number 1 is a 25-year tax. On page 6, it's just the process that you have to go through to sit as a board of review. We've gone over it in prior years. You can review it. There's appeal processes all the way up to the Louisiana Supreme Court. And then what might interest you too is on page 7, these are all your taxing districts, and it's based on what we collected in 2010, which is the latest information available, naturally, since you haven't even received the 2011 tax roll yet. In 2010, we collected $19.5 million in property taxes, and you can see by the pie chart which of your districts collected what percent and how much of the ones we just talked about. And then the next page is the last page, page 8, is a chart of all property taxes that you will sit as a board of review to review, and this includes all the taxing districts in a parish. So all of our taxing districts in the parish collected in 2010 $87.3 million, and it shows you by the pie chart the percent of the total and the amount of each taxing district in the parish. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Any questions or comments? I need a motion to move, okay? Motion by Councilman Todd Lambert, second by Councilman Bell to move the ordinance contained on page 4 and 5 to the next council agenda. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gwen. Item number 8 is our bid item section. Ms. Jones?
On April 28, 2011, the Purchasing Department received 3 bids for galvanized and asphalt-coated metal pipe. The bids were received from Coastal Culvert, Coburn Supply, and F&G Services. After review, the Purchasing Department and Department of Public Works recommend accepting the lowest responsive bid from Coburn Supply Company.
Motion by Councilman Cullen, second by Councilman Bell. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion passes.
On May 5, 2011, the Purchasing Department received 5 bids for Lamar Dixon Expo Center fence repair and debris removal. The bids were received from A1 American Fence, Acadian Commercial Contractors, Amco Fence, Delta Contractors, and Scott Fence USA. After review, the Purchasing Department and Lamar Dixon Expo Center recommend accepting the lowest responsive bid from Scott Fence USA.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Dempsey Lambert, second by Councilman Bell. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion passes.
Note that's going to be paid from FEMA funds.
Okay.
On April 28, 2011, the Purchasing Department received 2 bids for an orange peel grapple to fit a Daewoo 300 with, I'm sorry.
I just want, yeah, there's a big discrepancy
There's a
here.
huge
and
difference.
we-
That's all.
This is the second time we bid this, and basically, the same thing happened. So, so be it. If they can do it for that, we actually took every one of them and walked them around, let them know exactly what we expected of them. And it's kind of scary, but hey,
Yeah, I mean, the top bid is 227,000.
Right.
That's amazing.
but they knew, because
They
we
bid
wanted to
56.
make sure that nobody was making
Yeah,
any wasn't a
okay.
mistake. So I just wanted to explain, we went through it twice, and we made sure we walked through it last time.
Right. Okay, thank you, Parish President.
That's okay.
Go ahead, yes.
On April 28, 2011, the purchasing department received 2 bids for an orange peel grapple to fit a Daewoo 300 with 60-foot stick. The bids were received from Crawler Supply and M&L Industries. After review, the purchasing department and East Ascension Drainage recommend accepting the lowest responsive bid from Crawler Supply Incorporated.
Motion by Councilman Bell, second by Councilman Todd Lambert. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion passes. Next is our request for proposals section. Ms. Jones?
On April 28, the purchasing department received 2 proposals for motor grader leasing. The proposals were received from H&E Equipment and Louisiana Machinery. After review, the Non-Engineering Service Selection Committee recommends accepting the proposal submitted by Louisiana Machinery and to authorize the parish president to enter into an agreement for this service.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Schexnayder,
Second.
second by Councilman Dempsey Lambert. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion passes.
On April 19th, the purchasing department received 3 proposals for a skid steer loader lease. The proposals were received from Crawler Supply Company, Doggett Machinery Service, and Louisiana Machinery. After review, the Non-Engineering Selection Committee recommends accepting the proposal submitted by Louisiana Machinery and to authorize the parish president to enter into an agreement for this service.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Schexnayder, second by Councilman Bell. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion passes.
On April 5th, the purchasing department received 1 proposal for the parish tractor mower lease program. The proposal was received from Sunshine Equipment. After review, the Non-Engineering Selection Committee recommend accepting the proposal submitted by Sunshine Equipment and to authorize the parish president to enter into an agreement for this service.
Move to grant the lease to Sunshine.
Motion by Councilman Schexnayder, second by Councilman Dempsey Lambert. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion passes.
On April 5th, the purchasing department received 1 proposal for the parish vehicle fleet lease program. The proposal was received from Enterprise Fleet Management Division. After review, the Non-Engineering Selection Committee recommend accepting the proposal submitted by Enterprise and to authorize the parish president to enter into an agreement for this service.
Motion by Councilman Bell. Second by Councilman Cullen. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion passes. Thank you, Joan. Next, I'm sorry, we have one more. Request for qualifications, item number 10.
On April 26, 2011, the purchasing department received 7 proposals for the Donaldsonville sewer improvements. The proposals were received from All South Consulting Engineers, Buckhart Horn Incorporated, Digital Engineering, GEC, KL, GSA, Lambert Engineering LLC, and PEEC. After review, the Engineering Selection Committee recommend accepting the proposal submitted by GSA and to authorize the parish president to enter into an agreement for this service.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Schexnayder, second by Councilman Bell. Discussion? Objection? Motion passes. Item number 11 is our monthly contracts report for the month. Kimberly?
A copy of the monthly contract report for the month of April 2011 has been supplied. We'll take a minute and look over it and see if we have any questions.
Does anybody have any comments? Okay.
So move on the report, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Councilman Dempsey Lambert to move forward with the report. Second by Councilman Shakespeare. Councilman Todd Lambert.
What is the phase 2 on Oak Grove Community Center that we are spending 30? I guess that's on engineering?
That's, yes, for, and Parish President might be able to answer as well, but this is regarding the funding we got from the legislature to do the renovations for the building.
We're supposed to get 125, I'm not quite sure, I don't have the numbers in front of me. 125, we ended up getting 175,000 from a
Yes.
capital outlay. So
And what came out of transportation?
that came out, yeah,
I'm
that
talking
was
about
the matching funds
Is it
that,
possible we're gonna have to eat up some property on 42 and give up some and buy some property somewhere else?
Well, in talking with Ben Laurie has been working with DOTD on that, and the latest is that they believe that the property behind, they're working with the property owners behind the park.
But we'd have to buy some more property, so.
We're going to get funding from whatever the little slice that they're going to take on the front,
they're gonna pay for whatever they.
and they're going to, the state's going to assist with the back, so.
All right.
Okay. Councilman Dontine?
Parish President, the towers in Donaldsonville, Gonzales, what do we have towers for?
The what?
The towers, number 5. Is that not 911? That's not, that doesn't fall under that?
I don't have it.
I mean, is it parish towers? In other words, it says we got a contract here for $10,000, tower climbs to repair 2 cell towers, and it's in Donaldsonville and Gonzales.
It's probably for the sheriff's office, 911. That's what I would think it is. Huh?
You know,
Kimberly, do
we
you
need to
know,
make sure it doesn't
Yes.
come out of,
No, yes, I do. No, it's not. We share,
because that's a 911 fund, that's why I'm asking.
Right.
right, we have a separate contract with the sheriff's office for that, but the climbs that we use goes through our technology department. We're actually in the process of having a meeting with the sheriff's office because there's gonna be another contract with F&D, who's becoming they're being bought out as we speak. So we haven't entered that contract yet. Daily Towers is for our technology department. Those are outside of the 911.
Okay. We'll make sure the sheriff shouldn't be paying.
Okay. All right, we'll move on. Item number 12, Lamar Dixon Quarterly Report. Mr. Vogt.
Good evening, gentlemen. Before you, you have the quarterly report for Lamar Dixon. As you can see, our revenues at this point in the fiscal year are 32% of what we had budgeted to spend, or to receive, I should say. Our expenditures are at 34%. The reason for that difference there is a large number of encumbrances, everything from advertising, equipment rental, and so forth. In fact, we feel like we're in pretty good condition there. We are anticipating an ending balance then of $887,117. You may have questions regarding the BP. We are still living on a day-to-day, month-to-month basis with BP. We have just about received everything we had budgeted previously. We do anticipate that going on for at least a couple more months, if not longer. Reports we've heard have varied from anywhere from 3 months to the end of November or December for their tenure here. Now, of course, all bets are off if the hurricane season's active or other flood conditions and so forth. The other major item here that I'd like to call your attention to is on the second page under miscellaneous revenues. That's donations and sponsorships. The parish president has before the legislature a bill would, if passed, would authorize us to enter into sponsorships and so forth with businesses in our community and thereby raise non-tax dollars for the operations of Lamar-Dixon. So hopefully we can get that legislation through and get to work on some additional fundraising. Y'all have any questions?
Mr. Vogt, who's championing that for us with our who's championing the sponsorship amendment with the delegation? Parish
But
President?
Jody, it went, in fact, today through committee, and Jody's handling it on the Senate side for us and Murdo on the House side. Today, they both passed the two bills that we have. Passed committee, Beth was there, and also Tony Falterman. And we don't anticipate anything. Problem is with a public body to gather those sponsorships, it's hard to give an exclusive to anyone. So what we're trying to do is pass a law that gives us that opportunity, because we're leaving a lot of money on the table. Just example, Coca-Cola, Makala, those type people usually gave, when it was SMG, they'd give $25,000 to $35,000 a year. And as a public body, we're not able to do that. We can't give an exclusive. We had to bid it out. So that's what we're trying to change at this point.
Okay. Thanks for the update. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Vogt on the monthly report? Or quarterly report, I should say. I apologize. Okay, we'll move on. Thank you, Mr. Vogt.
Thank you.
Item number 13 is the cooperative endeavor agreement between the Board of Supervisors of LSU and A&M College, represented by the LSU Ag Center and the Parish of Ascension. Parish President.
Basically, Dwayne Nunez came to my office and talked to me about this. Right now, Ascension Parish, for the first time in history, doesn't have a cooperative, an agent out there, a county agent, and asked if there was any way that we could help fund one. And I told him that we had to come before the board here, the finance committee, and discuss it and see what we could come up with. But we have a representative here, and I'd like to ask him to please come up.
Mr. Fletcher?
Good afternoon. Bobby Fletcher with the LSU Ag Center. I'm a regional director and assistant director for the Ag Center and the Cooperative Extension Service. Ascension Parish is in the southeast region, and we are requesting to fund a position here where we can continue to deliver the high-quality research-based educational programs for the citizens of Ascension Parish. And we'd like to put forth that request with support of the Parish President and your consideration.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Denton Lambert?
I appreciate Bobby and Parish President bringing this forth. I would like to offer that motion that we fund the cooperative endeavor agreement with the LSU, and I'll make that motion.
Motion by Councilman Dempsey Lambert. Second by Councilman Cullen. Discussion?
Yes. Mr. Fletcher.
Councilman Valentine?
Mr. Fletcher.
Yes, sir.
Okay, how about going through the process of how we used to have a county agent? Is that what we funding now, a county agent?
The basic funding provided by parish governments throughout the state and the country is to provide an office and support and supplies.
Which we've done.
And you have been doing that, and you've been doing that at a very good level. We're right at almost at the southern regional average of funding here in Ascension Parish, which is about 20% of our salaries of our staff that are here currently. We have gone through some transition with agents, and we recently did lose an agent that resigned and went on to another area. Luckily, we were able to fill that position internally with someone from another part of the state that was interested in getting a little closer to home. In the interim, the other agent in position was here. That person left, so we're kind of back in the same boat that we were before, and with the challenges that we having on the state level, which provides the primary funding for the Extension Service, as well as USDA through the National Institute of Food and Agriculture. We're trying to build our program back in Ascension Parish. where we can be as responsive as we need to be to the needs of the citizens, whether it be ag and natural resources, 4-H youth development, and family-related nutrition type issues. So we're trying to get this position back in place. This is a way to do this with your support, and we look forward to having that opportunity.
In short, the governor cut your funding. Is that
Well,
what you're going to tell me?
That's one of the issues that we've been dealing with is state appropriated dollars.
Right.
For the extension service in Louisiana have been reduced 29% since July 1 of 2008. In addition, our federal funds were poised to be cut 10%. This year, that was mitigated to be reduced back to a 1% cut in Smith-Lever funds, which is the Smith-Lever Act of 1914 that started the Cooperative Extension Service. We have a proposed 10% reduction in President Obama's budget for Smith-Lever funds, which basically is all salary to support our agents, not only in Louisiana, but throughout the United States. So we have had some budgetary challenges, and we would like to be able to staff our office at a high enough level to support the citizens here in Ascension Parish. And that's the proposal we have before you tonight.
Now, Parish President, they were staffed at Lamar Dixon, right?
They are staffed there, and basically, I'd want to know also this person that we would staff. What is he going to do, or she going to do?
We're
Specifically
primarily
for this parish. Now, they're not going to be going to other parishes.
No, this would be domiciled at Lamar Dixon at the extension office there to work in Ascension Parish only. Now, we do have other agents and specialists that come in and support our programs, but the agents that we have domiciled at Lamar Dixon, this agent would be. This is primarily looking at 4-H youth development for this position to support the 4-H program here in Ascension Parish. And that could, possibly develop into other areas once we get that person in place.
Okay. Councilman Todd Lambert? And the 60,000 is covering mostly salaries, like you said.
That would cover salary plus benefits for that
Okay.
person. Our starting salary is for somebody with a bachelor's degree is around 34. Somebody with a master's degree would be 38, and the benefits rate would be at the 36%. Now, if somebody comes in with a master's plus 4, 5, 6 years experience, which we hope, that salary would be above that rate. And that's why I put that request in to cover that.
And Parish President, the fund account, where would this come from? Lamar Dixon's, being it's a 4-H and it's all being held at Lamar Dixon?
I would think the rest of the money comes from general fund.
I'm talking about this 60,000 right here that we are trying to approve tonight.
Well,
What budget is it?
it would come out of general fund.
General fund.
Yes.
And this person would work throughout the parish, not just at Lamar Dixon.
Councilman Schicksnyder?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And you said primarily it would fund 4-H agents'
Yes, sir.
position. Has there been any contact with the school board to try to get some assistance with funds also?
The school board has, we renewed their cooperative agreement with them last year to fund us at the 20% level of salary support. This is separate to get this position in place here.
Okay, so and what does their funding?
It helps provide support for the agent that's here.
Okay.
This would be a second agent to fully be funded by the parish government.
So they are funding some of the
Yes,
total
yes,
package?
Yes, that's
And,
correct. They're already at the 20% level of salary support.
Okay, and, okay, and do you have any, and again, we're asking because, I mean, all the government entities, you had any other government entities participating?
Not in Ascension Parish.
Okay.
The school board and the parish government.
Okay. Well, we would hope that you would also approach everyone and give everyone an opportunity to join in. We do think it's a great cause for the young people in the parish, and but we'd also like to share the wealth on this.
Anyone have, Councilman Valentine?
I know this is near and dear to Mr. Lambert's heart, I'm sure, Dempsey. But I think we just need a little bit more time to look at this. And I mean, I'd like, this is finance meeting. we're just now getting it, get the agenda ahead of time, so, I would really like to see us kind of wait on this. I don't want to vote it down, but I don't want to vote it forward either. But I'd like to have some more discussion on this to see if like Mr. Shakespeare's idea, we get some creative funding on this. I don't think we should bear the brunt, just like I don't think we should bear the brunt of all the industry costs on, with the court costs. So I would like to see us, if I could make a substitute motion, just to postpone, not to table it, but to postpone it until we get a little bit more information and have a little bit better discussion on it.
Okay, I have a substitute motion by Councilman Valentine to postpone this. Second by Councilman Todd Lambert. Discussion, Councilman Lambert?
I don't have a problem with withdrawing my motion, but just to go back, I think it was Ms. Tomplay that was the acting county agent here, that moved
Yes.
on to another position?
She actually is working for the Farm Service Agency.
Correct, okay.
And Laura
it's-
Brumbaugh is the current 4-H agent that's in place here.
Okay, okay. And I have no problem with that right now. It's just, we need to have someone here in our parish that represents us and the children that, we really need these farmer markets that are throughout Baton Rouge, all through the states now. They're real popular. I would really like to see, some things like that really go into, looking at that and just, I don't have a problem waiting, but we will come back with, an answer.
And we're more than willing to visit with you on
Yeah.
the procedure and how you'd like to move forward and the pleasure
Okay.
of the council.
Councilman Shakespeare?
I'd just like to make sure it's on the agenda next meeting, so that we can have time to ask questions and come back next meeting. Is there a time?
Okay, I can put it on the agenda, make sure it's on the agenda, and then that gives us a month to work stuff out. Parish President?
And then maybe in the meantime, you could maybe give us a chart as to what we have here in the parish and basically what this position's gonna do, and we'll all get a better understanding, I think.
Okay.
Well, I mean, we had somebody there, obviously they were getting paid through LSU or through funds through the state, now they're not. So, that they were funded for the year, so I mean, I'd like to know, what we're doing with that and if we can engage other communities or governmental entities in the help. Certainly don't want to take the burden on totally.
We also ought to be able to find out.
Because we are funding the office already.
Where the funding was coming from last year, and then what's the proposal for this year? What are the different entities, how much everybody was funding, and then what do we propose for this year, so we can get a realistic outlook and what are the services are. If we could have that, then that would answer
Right,
our
and
questions.
basically this would be
I think that's fair for the people.
from where you are right now, the request is to increase that by 60,000 to cover this position. We did have that funding. We don't have the funding on the state level to continue this position. That's why we're coming to you guys to support the agent here in Ascension Parish. Okay.
And Mr. Fletcher, as you get that information together, if you could go ahead and email the council, that would probably be helpful as well, and so we have some time to study it in advance.
Okay.
Okay?
Very good.
Any further discussion on the substitute motion? Any objection to the substitute motion? Substitute motion passes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Item number 14, Ascension Parish Library Change Order number 4 for the Gonzales Locations Building Program. Ms. Angel?
Good evening, gentlemen. Before you, you should have change order number 4, which should be the last change order, to my knowledge, for the Gonzales location. And it just lists a variety of changes that were made to the physical facility. If anyone has any specific questions, I'd be glad to answer.
Move to approve, Chairman. Please.
Motion by Councilman Valentine to approve this change order, second by Councilman Bell. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 15, a proposed amendment to the ordinance setting rates for Lamar Dixon. Mr. Vogt?
This essentially brings Lamar Dixon's charges equal to, or just comparable to the charges by the Sheriff's Department and the emergency medical technologists.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Schexnayder, second by Councilman Todd Lambert. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion passes. Item number 16, authorization of application for mental health malpractice insurance. Ms. Hamilton?
Good evening, gentlemen. This authorization is a request for two things. One is to authorize purchase of the malpractice insurance. It's not a new purchase. We purchase this every year, and what this is it provides insurance coverage for the counselors and the nurse in our building in the event that they get sued during the course of practicing their profession with their patients. So this is an ongoing annual expense. But what we are asking to do different this year, so we're asking your approval for the mental health department to purchase its own insurance directly through the professional associations instead of through our insurance carrier who has previously handled this issue. The reason we're asking for this is because the professional associations give us a deep discount, and so we would be able to purchase insurance for everyone in our building for $1,400. And the insurance has previously cost our department $19,000. We've already discussed it with the agent for the parish, and he has agreed that they cannot meet this amount and has approved our seeking this insurance on our own. So we're asking for those two things.
Fantastic.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Councilman Todd
Do you need
Lambert,
it separately
second.
or voted on?
Do we, let's go ahead and do both of those separately. Can we, the first one was, we'll do the
Authorization
the
to
authorization for
purchase
the malpractice. Motion by Councilman Todd Lambert, second by Councilman Bell. Any discussion? Any objection? And the second was regarding the insurance.
That mental health will purchase its department's
Okay,
insurance.
Motion by
directly.
Councilman Bell, second by Councilman Todd Lambert. Fantastic work.
Thank you.
Any objection? Motion passes. Before we get to Councilman Todd Lambert and adjourn here, I just wanted to announce as well, with the Finance Committee meeting, we're going to be moving that to the, instead of the second Thursday, we're going to meet immediately following drainage. So about 6:30, 7 o'clock every Monday. First Monday of every month, not every Monday. So the next meeting will be Monday, June 6th. Councilman Todd Lambert.
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Motion adjourned, second by Councilman Bell. Adjourned.